Hello and welcome. Happy Wednesday to you. Thank you for joining another episode of Andrea Speaks TV. I'm your host, Andrea, here to bring you commentary you can use. So I want to say thank you all so much for your continued support of the channel. I could not do this without your support, and I am so thankful for your support. So, you all know here on the channel, I cover not only do I cover news that's happening here in the United States, but I also cover international news. So, this evening's story is one example of international news, and I tell you all from time to time, I like to look at world news um, because I say, wow, if that's happening in another country, who was to say that it couldn't happen right here in the US. So if you're watching now live or if you're watching by replay, please say hello in the chat. Let me know that you're watching. This is also an interactive channel. So as I share the news and information, I also like to know your thoughts. So please make sure that you leave a comment in the chat. Let me know your thoughts on this topic, okay? Also, if you are not a subscriber of the channel, I would like to invite you to subscribe to Andrea Speaks TV YouTube channel. That way you can stay connected, updated, informed whenever I do upload new content each week or go live right here on the channel. So, this evening's news actually comes from the Netherlands, okay? Comes out of the Netherlands. Um, and this news, the title of the article, which comes from PBS NewsHour, the title of the article says Dutch farmers dump manure garbage on roads to protest planned emission reduction. Okay, so I want to give you some news and information on this. Again, this information comes out of the Netherlands. Let me see. Give me just a minute, y'all. I'm going to try to minimize it. That way I can get as much as possible on the screen. Okay, I think that's much better. All right, y'all. So again, this information comes from PBS NewsHour. Let me know your thoughts on this. Even here in the United States, I have seen several reports from farmers who are just, saying that basically they're feeling like they are forgotten about. For many farmers here in America, not only are they dealing with fertilizer shortages, and for the fertilizer that is available, they're having to pay higher prices, but they're also having to pay or having, to pay more at the pump when it comes to diesel. The price of diesel is, much higher, almost, in some cases between $1 and $2, if not more, higher than regular gasoline. So, farmers are just really, really feeling the effects of inflation. Farmers are largely responsible for feeding our country. So the fact that the farmers are speaking out saying, hey, what about us? What are you going to help the farmers? How are you going to help farmers with this, the crisis that's going on with the food? Um, not being able to harvest as much as they usually do. Farmers all around the world, even here in the United States, are crying out for help. And in most cases, I'm seeing where they're saying that the farmers are being ignored. Well, in the country of Netherlands, okay, the Dutch farmers are actually taking to the streets in protest. So let me go ahead and get into it. Thank you all so much, those who are watching now live, and if you're watching by replay, okay? According to PBS, okay, Dutch farmers dump manure garbage on roads to protest planned emissions reductions. Now, the article says Dutch farmers protested government plans. Listen to what they're talking about doing in the Netherlands, y'all. Okay. Dutch farm. So you may say, okay, Andrea, I don't live in the Netherlands. Why should I be concerned about this news? Because, okay, if farmers, excuse me, in this case, if farmers overseas in the Netherlands, I can't talk. That's a tongue twister, y'all. Let me start over. Okay, if farmers in the Netherlands are saying, hey, wait a minute, we don't like what's going on. Look at what you're doing. This is not going to help us. This is going to hurt us. Then we need to pay attention, because how do we know that this isn't the same plan for farmers here in the United States? Okay, let me get back to the article. Dutch farmers protested government plans to reduce nitrogen emissions by dumping manure and garbage Wednesday on highways and setting fires alongside roads. The latest actions in a summer of discontent. Police urged them to stop for safety reasons and were investigating who was responsible. Now, traffic authorities, the article said several roads in the central and eastern Netherlands were completely or partially blocked by the early morning blockades, and fire services rushed to clear roads as traffic built up. Cleanup operations were expected to take hours on some roads, okay? But by the end of the day, the article said some roads were still not cleared, in part because some companies involved in the cleanup had received threats, y'all. Okay, that's according to a spokesman for the government's roads and waterways organization. Okay, here's a quote that said, "We are doing everything to clear the roads, but some contractors are being intimidated." Okay. Um, this person also said it was not clear when all the roads will be fully cleaned. Okay. The quote also said it's very extreme now that people are being threatened for assisting the cleanup. Okay. Now, Dutch media reported that at one location, a sign was left behind that said, "Sorry for the inconvenience. Ruddle 4 is driving us to despair," a reference to the Prime Minister Mark Rutte's coalition government. Okay. Police and security authorities, the article says, appeal to farmers to halt what they describe as dangerous situations. Okay. Here's a quote that said, protesting is a fundamental right, and as long as it stays within the limits of the law, a lot is possible. Okay, the emergency services said in a joint statement. But they said the latest actions, and I quote, seriously endanger road safety and can lead to life-threatening situations for road users. Okay. Now, the latest demonstrations, the article says, came a day after a government-appointed mediator sent invitations to farmers' organizations to discuss with the country's ruling coalition ways of reducing nitrogen emissions. Okay. Some farmers, the article says, have rejected the appointment of Remkes as an independent mediator because he is a member of Prime Minister Mark Rutte's center-right political party and a former deputy prime minister. Okay, the farmers, this is why they're angry, y'all. Thank you so much to everyone who's watching now live, or if you're watching by replay. Okay, I'm here sharing news and information that in the Netherlands, okay, Dutch farmers have dumped manure, garbage on roads to protest planned emissions reductions. Okay, they do not like at all what their government is trying to do in the ways that they feel that they're being restricted. Okay, now the article says that farmers are angry. The farmers are angry at government targets for reining in emissions of nitrogen oxide and ammonia that they say threatens to wreck their agricultural way of life and put them out of business. Okay. The government, here's what the government has to say. Okay. The government is claiming that emissions of nitrogen oxide and ammonia, which livestock produce, must be drastically reduced close to nature areas that are part of a network of protected habitats for endangered plants and wildlife stretching across the 27 nation European Union. Okay, hello, Stand By Me. Thank you so much for supporting the channel this evening. Okay, you all let me know your thoughts on this topic. Okay, now, so again, so I just provided some context. So basically, we know the farmers are going to have farm animals, correct? So the farm animals, they produce the nitrogen oxide and ammonia. Okay, that's according to the article, which livestock produce. So the government is saying, hey, you have to drastically reduce. The government is telling the farmers in the Netherlands, okay, this is where the anger and the protests are coming from. This is the reason. The government is telling the farmers, okay, who have livestock that produce the nitrogen oxide and ammonia. Okay, I'm assuming you all let me know. Okay, I don't have farm animals currently. Let me know, is this a byproduct of the livestock waste? Okay, I'm assuming that's where that's coming from. Okay, so the government is telling the farmers that they have to reduce emissions of nitrogen oxide and ammonia, which the farmers, which is produced by the livestock owned by the farmers. It must drastically be reduced close to nature areas that are part of a network of protected habitats for endangered plants and wildlife stretching across the 27 European Union. Okay, the ruling coalition wants to cut emissions of pollutants by 50% nationwide by 2030. Y'all, I keep saying this. Why? A lot of times when I read these articles and they talk about climate change and climate initiative, climate crisis, they always, I just said this in my most recent video. Why are they always mentioning the year 2030 and the year 2050? Does anyone know that? Why those 2 years I'm seeing a lot of times mention the year 2030 and the year 2050? Why are those 2 years so significant? Okay. All right. So again, the ruling coalition wants to cut emissions of pollutants by 50% nationwide by 2030, calling the measure, and I quote, an unavoidable transition to improve soil, air, and water quality in the European Union nation known for its intensive farming practices. Okay. All right. Now, the article also says it has called on provincial authorities to draw up plans to reduce emissions and earmarked an extra 24.3 billion euros, which in US dollars would be about 24.6 billion, to fund the changes. Okay. All right. I'm just reading some of the comments here. Let's see. Wow. Could this be a ploy to take over the land? Wow. Now that's something to think about. Okay. Wow. Okay. So they used to talk about 2020. Wow. I'll definitely research that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Stand by me. Okay. All right. Listen, you all make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Leave me some comments. Let me know your thoughts on this topic. Very, very important. Again, farmers in the Netherlands, okay? Dutch farmers, they're protesting the fact that the government wants to reduce emissions. Basically, it sounds like they want them to get rid of some of their livestock, which that's how they make their way of living. That's how they, you know, um, make their living off of livestock. That's how they, feed their communities, feed their families. Think about the implications of this, y'all. Okay, you don't think that something like this may possibly happen in the United States? Okay, stay with me. Let me keep reading. Now, the article also concludes by saying that farmers argue that they are being unfairly targeted, while other industries such as aviation, construction, and transport also are contributing to emissions and face less far-reaching rules. Y'all, I agree with them. Okay, don't you all think about that? Think about how much I'm not trying to talk down on these industries, but I definitely feel like they have a point. Why are they focusing so hard on the agricultural, on the farming industry when it comes to emissions, and not so much so that I know of, um, not so much so the aviation, construction, and transport industry. Okay. The article also says they also say the government, the farmers are also saying the government is not giving them a clear picture of their futures amid the proposed reforms. Earlier this year, the article says the farmers blocked highways with tractors and blockaded supermarket distribution centers. Okay, y'all, this is very concerning. I'm definitely going to keep my eyes out on this story. You all let me know your thoughts in the comments. Again, farmers in the Netherlands, the Dutch farmers, they're protesting the government's plan to reduce emissions. And they did so today. They took it a step further by dumping manure and garbage on the roads to protest the planned emissions reductions. Okay. You know what? Stand by me. When you mention control, it really, a lot of arrows point to the fact that that's what it seems like is going on. But I don't know. You all let me know your thoughts. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. I am going to be releasing more videos where American farmers are talking about how everything inflation is affecting them, and how when they call on our leaders, nothing seems to be getting done. They can't get any answers or help. So again, thank you all so much for supporting the channel. Please make sure you subscribe, share this video, give it a thumbs up, and thank you all so much for your support. All right, I'll talk to you soon. Stay tuned for more news and commentary you can use right here on Andrea Speaks TV.